welcome back to the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out in the rankings. Every week I'm going to be bringing in brand new episodes, prepping and survival. Let's get to it. Prepping has become really popular in the last few years. This is due to the changing and unpredictable world we live in, whether it's wars, global pandemics or societal problems like Brexit.
Barry hopes for the best, but is preparing for the worst.
How much food do you have here?
Well, my goal now is to have enough food for 3 of us for 6 months. That's my goal, because you just don't know.
Barry is a prepper, someone that builds a stockpile because they see a major crisis ahead.
The cost of living crisis, power outages, fuel shortages, those things I'm well prepared for now. 5 years ago, if I'd have told you there was going to be a huge war in Europe and a global pandemic, would you believe it? Make no mistake, those things will happen again, and I'd just rather be ready.
Because some preppers believe a big crisis could lead to civil unrest. Barry's air guns are just a hobby, but he's ready for a breakdown of law and order.
I feel confident that me and my sons could protect our home if we needed to.
If it ever got to that point?
Yeah.
Do you think it would get to that point, though?
I don't think it takes a lot for people to get crazy. It really doesn't.
Prepping as a movement started in the United States, but as the UK heads into a winter of warnings about power disruption, it's something more people here are doing. There is this perception that the prepping community is a bit secretive, somewhat clandestine and rather underground, but what we've actually found out is that over the past 2 years, particularly since the pandemic, it's a community that's become a lot more mainstream. From a base in rural Wales, Lee Price sells prepper goods, survival kits, long-term food rations. He's never been busier.
It's the what ifs. What if the electric goes off? What if I can't get heating or whatever it is? So it's planning ahead. That's all it is, really.
And have you noticed more and more people are doing that now?
Oh, yeah, and from every walk of life, yeah.
What do you mean by that, every walk of life?
Well, we have people phoning up, they could be doctors or teachers, from cities, from the country, anywhere really.
And that security can bring reassurance when things feel unpredictable.
Life has got a little bit more uncertain, and when we sort of lack that control, we can become anxious. So doing a little bit of prepping actually gives you a little bit of control back. You're actually making proactive decisions that can help you when things go horribly wrong.
Let's face it, it's winter, it's getting colder and darker, and more people are becoming aware of the rising cost of energy and the cost of living crisis. So are preppers people who are paranoid, or are they actually reflecting and responding to the uncertainties that we are all facing?
Preppers say this isn't panic buying, it's not paranoia, it's being ready for the future in uncertain times.
Prepping, in short, is just being prepared. That's it. It's the act of preparing for an emergency or a disaster situation. This can be as simple as stockpiling food, water, medicine, as well as learning new skills like survival skills or first aid, medical training and things like that. A little bit of history. Prepping is a social movement of individuals or groups called survivalists or preppers. It started to gain momentum in the 1940s in the UK and America. This was largely because of government policies, threats of nuclear war.
Feeding on the resentment, a populist rabble-rouser taps into wounded German pride and promises to take back what has been lost. Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party start to build a mass following. The German people see him as a savior, the man to restore their once great nation.
Reached Europe on the 1st of September 1939 with Germany's invasion of Poland. It became global on the 7th of December 1941 when Japanese aircraft attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. Food rationing had been progressively introduced since January 1940. Rationing had been introduced in Germany in August 1939, the month before the invasion of Poland. As the war went on, the vast majority of Britons, including more than half of the manual workers, had their own piece of land, their garden or their allotment. The British reliance on imported food was almost halved. Under pressure to form some sort of home defence, the Secretary for War, Anthony Eden, went on the radio on May the 14th to announce the formation of the Local Defence Volunteers, or LDV, said by some to stand for Look, Duck and Vanish.
This questionnaire is addressed to civilians who are not in armament factories or in government service. Have you joined the Local Defence Volunteers?
The LDV formed groups associated with social and sporting clubs and factories. It ended with a new weapon for a new age.
The Cold War era civil defence programmes promoted public atomic bomb shelters, personal fallout shelters and training for children as well. So that basically ingrained in people the survival and self-preservation mindset, effectively.
This is not a test. The United States is under nuclear attack.
In the 1950s and 60s, a government campaign made sure that Americans were prepared for the possibility of a nuclear attack from our main adversary, the Soviet Union.
Enemy jet bombers carrying nuclear weapons can sweep over a variety of routes and drop bombs on any important target in the United States.
Prepping is not about being paranoid or living in fear. It's simply about being prepared for any situation which may arise. This could be as simple as being prepared for an electricity cut. If you have a medical condition which requires the use of a dialysis machine, obviously an electricity cut could be fatal. Likewise, hospitals and businesses require electricity to operate.
Supply might not be able to meet demand, and it outlines, we must stress this as a worst case scenario.
It could be as simple as that, or it could be societal friction, such as protests, rioting. Or it could be more extreme, such as nuclear war, apocalyptic scenarios, regional natural disasters, or even economic collapse. To be a prepper, you need to be reasonably intelligent, you need to think outside the box, you need to be motivated to learn new skills, confident and resilient, because you're going to be dealing with unprecedented and stressful scenarios. Money helps you initially procure resources and get off the ground, but it's not a guarantee of success in its own right. Depending on the situation you're preparing for will dictate what actions you take. Generally, prepping focuses on meeting your basic human requirements, whether this is air to breathe, food to eat, water to drink, or shelter to live. Everyone is a prepper. Think of adverse weather conditions here in the UK. As soon as the snow hits, everyone rushes off to the shops and buys more than they need. Usually milk, bread and other things that go out of a day quite quickly. So everyone is a prepper to some degree. Obviously these videos are more focused on people who are preparing for more of a prolonged event or adverse situation than simply weather phenomenon. Individual preppers usually base their preparedness on specific theoretical possible scenarios. This can normally take the form of a war or a society breakdown. But a prepper is best thought of as somebody who has the mindset of self-preservation, which requires knowledge, skills, tools and resources. That basically sums it up. Over the last decade, the television and film industry has really exploited prepping and survivalism in a lot of their films and media. Everything from Jericho, The Last of Us, Lost, Walking Dead, Zombieland, and there's various alien invasion movies. I don't think survival is going to take those forms. Obviously they've been dramatised, but It's just nice to watch. And obviously the mainstream media like to think of preppers as a bit crazy because they base their perceptions on these movies. I'm going to put in the description of this video links to online resources, forums, other video channels, shops where you can buy axes, tools and other survival items. In the next video I'm going to start exploring some of the aspects of survival. This is going to be a series which is going to be at least 10 episodes long, if not longer, depending on how successful it is. The next episode is going to be common prepping strategy fails, and I'm going to cover some of the things which I think preppers are doing wrong, specifically in their mindset and how they're going about things. So until then, see you next time.